Have you ever found yourself standing in the kitchen, staring at a half-cooked meal, wondering, what was I even making? Or maybe you've walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went there in the first place. It sounds small, doesn't it? But over time, these little moments start to feel heavier, like life is slowly folding in on itself without you realizing it. I'll admit something to you. After I turned 67, I thought I had this living alone thing figured out. I had my routines, my quiet afternoons, and the TV always kept me company. But one day, I caught myself laughing at a rerun joke I'd heard a dozen times, and suddenly I realized, I wasn't laughing because it was funny. I was laughing because it was familiar. And that hit me harder than I expected. But here's the good news. This isn't a dead end. There are gentle, easy steps you can take to breathe life back into your days. No big overhauls. No judgment. Just small changes that can open big doors. Some of the tips you'll hear today aren't what you'd expect. They might even surprise you. But they work. And if you stick with me, you might just rediscover a part of yourself that's been quietly waiting in the background. So tell me, when was the last time you truly felt excited to wake up in the morning? Because you deserve that feeling again. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. Now, let's begin. Are you really okay living alone? That's a question most people won't dare ask out loud. Maybe not even to themselves. But late at night, when the house is still and the TV has gone quiet, it creeps in. It's not about whether you're surviving. Of course you are. You've made it this far with strength, dignity, and grace. But surviving isn't the same as living. So let me ask again, are you truly okay? The truth is, many of us were told that aging alone is just something we have to accept. Our children grow up, move away. Friends move or pass on. The neighborhood changes. Life thins out, little by little. We're told it's normal, that this is just how things go when you get older. And so, we do our best to make peace with it. We keep the house tidy. We take our medications. We water the plants. And when someone asks how we're doing, we smile politely and say, I'm fine. But are we? There's a kind of quiet that settles in when you live alone for long enough. At first, it feels peaceful. You enjoy your coffee in silence. You can nap whenever you like. There's no one around to argue with or worry about. But then that quiet starts to take on a different tone. You notice how long it's been since anyone touched your hand. How strange your voice sounds when you say something aloud just to hear it echo back. And when the phone rings, your heart skips, not with excitement, but with a kind of longing you don't talk about. You begin to measure time not in days or weeks, but in doctor's appointments and grocery runs. You start to feel invisible, not just to the world outside, but sometimes even to yourself. You walk into a room and forget why. You forget what day it is. You forget the last time you laughed with someone instead of just laughing at the television. These moments come slowly, quietly, and they're easy to dismiss, until suddenly, they're not. Until you realize that behind the calm exterior, behind the routines and polite conversations, there's a kind of silent suffering happening. A loneliness that doesn't scream, but rather sighs. A weariness that settles deep into your bones and makes every day feel a little bit heavier. And still, we say we're fine. Why? Because we don't want to be a burden. Because we were raised to be strong, independent. Because somewhere along the way, we started believing that needing help, or even just needing company, was something to be ashamed of. That asking for more out of life was selfish. That we should just be grateful for what we have. But here's the thing no one tells you. There is nothing wrong with wanting more. There's nothing wrong with feeling lonely, and there's nothing wrong with admitting it. Because buried beneath that quiet loneliness is a truth that so many of us carry but rarely speak. We miss being seen. We miss being part of something. We miss laughter in the kitchen and footsteps down the hall. We miss feeling needed. We miss ourselves, the version of us that felt connected, useful, alive. And you know what? It's not too late to find that feeling again. This isn't about pretending we're 25. It's not about signing up for salsa classes or skydiving, unless that's your thing. It's about reclaiming the small joys. It's about waking up and wanting to do something with the day. It's about replacing silence with music, solitude with purpose. It's about discovering that even in your late 60s, 70s, 80s, you can still build a life that feels meaningful. Because, despite what the world might suggest, getting older doesn't mean becoming irrelevant. It doesn't mean fading into the background. It doesn't mean living in the shadows of who you used to be. Some of the most powerful, transformative chapters of our lives can begin right here, in the quiet, in the solitude, if we choose it. But it starts with honesty. So again, I ask gently, not to judge, but to open a door. Are you really okay living alone? And if that question stirred something in you, just a flicker of recognition, a moment of pause, then maybe, just maybe, there's something here for you in the pages ahead. Because this story we're telling isn't just about loneliness. It's about rediscovery, about dignity, about reconnecting with a life that still pulses through you, quietly waiting to be felt again. You don't have to keep pretending. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to feel joy again. You deserve to live a life that makes you feel awake. It's a quiet revolution happening behind closed doors across America. More and more, older adults are waking up in homes where the only footsteps are their own, where dinner for one has become a quiet routine, and where silence fills the space once crowded by children's laughter, family dinners, or the comforting noise of a partner brewing coffee. According to recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau, nearly 28% of adults aged 65 and older now live alone. That's over 14 million seniors navigating their days without a live-in companion, more than ever before in American history. And the trend continues to rise. Some made the choice proudly, after decades of caregiving or cohabitating. Others arrived here by circumstance, widowhood, divorce, or simply the drifting apart of once close family ties. Either way, the numbers are no longer small, and behind them lie millions of real human stories. The reasons are as varied as the people themselves. Some seniors, especially women who outlive their partners by an average of 5 years, find themselves adjusting to solo life late in life. Others never married. Some families have moved far away, and while phone calls and FaceTime are lovely, they're not quite the same as someone turning on the porch light just for you at night. Independence has always been an American ideal, an identity we cling to fiercely. And for many older adults, living alone is a badge of strength. After all, wasn't self-reliance what we were taught to aspire to? But beneath the strong exterior, even the proudest souls feel the weight of solitude. Because what no one tells you is that independence can quietly turn into isolation. It doesn't happen all at once. At first, it feels like freedom, watching your shows, choosing your meals, sleeping when you want. But over time, the absence of casual conversation, the shared laughter during mealtimes, even the sound of someone else's slippers on the floor, it all begins to chip away at the day. One small piece at a time. Until the house, once so full of life, begins to feel more like a waiting room. And you wonder what exactly it is you're still waiting for. There's also a hidden emotional cost that rarely gets mentioned. When you live alone after 65, you begin to lose those little emotional checkpoints. The smile someone gives you when you do something kind, the hug after a hard day, the light in someone's eyes when you walk in the door. Without those, it becomes easy to question your importance. The days start to blur. You begin to feel invisible, not just to society, but to yourself. And let's not ignore the simple truth. Living alone in your later years comes with real risks. Medical emergencies, falls, forgetting medications, even managing bills or appliances. Things that were once routine suddenly carry more weight when no one's around to notice if something goes wrong. In one CDC report, falls among seniors living alone accounted for more than 3 million emergency room visits annually. And yet, most of these risks stay unspoken until something happens. But perhaps even more quietly dangerous than the physical risks is something else. The erosion of emotional resilience. When no one checks in, no one asks how you're doing, no one hears you laugh, cry, or even sigh heavily from the next room. Your inner world starts to shrink. And without noticing, you begin to adapt. Not by thriving, but by surviving. You go from vibrant living to quiet coping. Of course, many older adults fiercely protect their independence, and rightfully so. Living alone doesn't automatically mean being lonely. But here's the subtle difference that matters deeply. Loneliness isn't about the number of people around you. It's about feeling unseen, unheard, or unneeded. And when you've spent your whole life working, raising a family, and contributing to your community, that loss of purpose can sting deeper than any physical ailment. Still, society rarely talks about this in honest terms. We tend to romanticize the idea of the independent elder, the one who gardens, plays bridge, and travels solo. And while those stories are real and important, they're not the whole picture. They can sometimes overshadow the quiet struggles so many face in their homes, behind smiles that hide fatigue, or in routines that mask longing. There's another layer too, the grief that never fully heals. Whether it's the loss of a spouse, the fading relationship with grown children, or simply the vanishing of old friends, living alone forces seniors to sit with absence more than anyone else. And that's no small emotional task. It takes strength to carry all that history, all those memories, in a space where no one shares them anymore. So why do so many seniors continue to live alone? Because they believe it's their only option. Because they don't want to burden their children. Because they fear the loss of control that comes with moving in with someone or asking for help. Because pride is a quiet companion that often speaks louder than need. But that doesn't mean there's no hope. Understanding the reality of solo aging is the first step toward creating a better one. When we acknowledge the emotional cost, we open the door to emotional healing. When we accept that independence doesn't have to mean isolation, we make space for new kinds of connection. Ones that honor dignity and humanity. Living alone after 65 is not a failure. It's a chapter, one that can be written with purpose, resilience, and even joy. But only if we first tell the truth about what it feels like behind those silent walls. Because you don't have to feel invisible. You don't have to go unnoticed. And you certainly don't have to settle for just getting by. There is still time to build something richer, deeper, and more connected, even from the comfort of your favorite chair. It starts with naming the truth, and then daring to imagine something more. At first glance, living alone after 65 can feel like a badge of honor. You've earned your independence, your quiet space, your freedom from chaos. There's no need to compromise on the TV volume, no dishes left in the sink by someone else, and no one to interrupt your evening ritual of tea and a good book. But over time, slowly, quietly, tiny cracks can form in that peaceful solitude. And if we're not careful, these cracks can widen into real emotional and physical struggles. Many older adults make the same mistakes without even realizing it, until something small turns into something overwhelming. Here are 10 quiet, common mistakes that can creep in when you're living solo in your later years, and what they might be costing you. One of the first missteps? Skipping daily routines that provide structure. Maybe it starts with sleeping in a little later, or skipping the morning shave or walk. There's no boss to report to, no kids knocking on the door, no appointments demanding your time. But gradually, the days blur together. Without anchors, like breakfast at the same time, a regular call, a walk at sunset, the mind can drift, and a sense of purpose can begin to dissolve. Routine isn't about rigidity. It's about rhythm, and rhythm brings clarity, comfort, and control. Another quiet mistake is letting meals become isolated or mechanical. It's easy to fall into a habit of microwaving a frozen dinner and eating it over the sink. No conversation, no joy. But food is more than fuel. It's emotional. When you lose the ritual of preparing meals with care or sharing them with others, it's not just your appetite that suffers. It's your heart. The table becomes a reminder of absence rather than a place of connection. Then there's the tendency to not reach out to friends or family enough. You might tell yourself, "They're busy. I don't want to bother them." Or maybe you've grown used to silence. But silence, when it stretches too long, can turn into loneliness. And loneliness isn't just an emotion, it's a health risk. Picking up the phone, writing a letter, or simply sending a photo can be a lifeline, both for you and for the person on the other end. Many seniors also slowly start avoiding community events or volunteering. The effort of getting dressed, driving across town, walking into a room full of strangers, it can feel like too much. But when you step back from your community, something else steps in: isolation. Your world begins to shrink. The walls feel closer. And that subtle narrowing can take a toll on your spirit. Letting technology become a barrier instead of a bridge is another trap. The TV remote may be your best friend, but is the smartphone or the tablet? Those can feel like enemies. Buttons. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Too small, updates too confusing, scams too scary. But avoiding technology means missing out on connection, on Zoom calls with the grandkids, photo albums shared from across the country, or even learning something new. Tech doesn't have to isolate, it can liberate, if we let it. Another quiet mistake: neglecting physical activity and fresh air. When there's no one to encourage you to go outside, it's tempting to stay in. But the body remembers movement. The lungs remember the taste of wind. The feet remember the feel of solid earth. Even a gentle walk around the block can change your entire outlook. Sitting still for too long dulls not just the muscles, but the soul. Clutter is another hidden danger. It's not just about the piles of paper or the collection of old dishes. When clutter builds up, it can create emotional and physical hazards. It signals to your brain that things are out of control. It increases your risk of falling. And more than that, it whispers that the past has a stronger grip than the future. Clearing even one small space, a drawer, a corner, a step, is a radical act of hope. One mistake many make quietly is avoiding medical appointments or follow-ups. "I feel fine," you might say. Or maybe it's just too much trouble to arrange transportation or sit in another waiting room. But skipping care out of inconvenience, or denial, can have serious consequences. Prevention is the secret key to staying independent longer. Your health deserves your attention, even when nothing feels urgent. Emotionally, many people suppress their feelings rather than process them. Maybe you've been through loss or change, or just feel a quiet grief that never goes away. It's tempting to tuck those feelings away, to keep smiling. But buried feelings don't disappear, they build. Talking to someone, a friend, a counselor, even your pet, can help bring those feelings into the light where they can soften and heal. And finally, perhaps the most dangerous mistake of all, thinking "I'm fine" when deeper needs are ignored. It's the lie we tell ourselves to keep going. But fine isn't the same as fulfilled. Fine isn't the same as joyful. It's okay to want more, to need touch, laughter, music, and connection. You deserve more than fine. You deserve comfort, meaning, companionship, and vitality. You deserve to wake up and feel excited, even just a little, about the day ahead. These mistakes aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of how easily we slip into patterns that feel safe but quietly erode our well-being. The good news is, every one of these habits can be changed. One small step, one gentle shift, one phone call, one fresh meal, one deep breath of fresh air, and suddenly, the world starts opening again. You're not alone in this journey. And you don't have to figure it all out in one day. But maybe, just maybe, starting with one of these quiet corrections could make all the difference in how tomorrow feels. Because living alone doesn't have to mean living lonely. Not anymore. It doesn't happen overnight. That's the cruel part. The consequences of living alone after 65, those small oversights, the quiet habits that slip, don't come with alarms or flashing lights. They arrive slowly, almost silently, like dust collecting on the windowsill. One morning, you wake up and realize something is missing. Something within you feels heavier, harder to name. And you don't remember when it began. At first, loneliness is just a passing ache. Maybe it shows up when you sit down for dinner and realize you haven't spoken a word out loud all day. Or maybe it lingers in the silence after a phone call ends, when the house feels too still. You brush it off. After all, you've always been strong, independent. But that ache, it grows roots. Slowly, loneliness hardens into something darker, into depression. You don't call it that, of course. You say you're just tired, or not in the mood. You start turning down invitations, not because you don't want to go, but because the effort feels too great. You tell yourself it's easier to stay home, safer, quieter. But the truth is, you've begun to retreat from the world. And the more you pull back, the more invisible you begin to feel. Not just to others, but to yourself. And with that loneliness comes something even deeper, the erosion of meaning. You start asking questions you never asked in your younger years. Why am I still here? Does anyone even notice? The routines that used to give your days purpose, waking up early, watering the plants, writing a grocery list, start to fade. Confidence weakens. You second-guess yourself when cooking. You hesitate before driving, wondering if your reflexes are still sharp. And when you look in the mirror, you barely recognize the person staring back. This loss of purpose is not just emotional. It begins to chip away at your health. Studies show that seniors who feel isolated experience physical decline at a much faster rate. You might think it's just aging, but no, it's more than that. It's the result of disengagement, of silence, of needs ignored for too long. You find yourself forgetting small things. Why you walked into a room, where you placed your keys, the name of your neighbor's son. You laugh it off, blaming senior moments. But deep down, it unsettles you. Is this how it starts? Is this memory slip a sign of something worse? That fear alone keeps you awake at night, heart pounding in the dark. You don't exercise as much anymore. Why would you? There's no one waiting, no one encouraging you to take that walk around the block. The television becomes your closest companion. Meals turn into snacks, and snacks turn into skipped dinners. And slowly, without realizing it, your body begins to reflect your mind. Sluggish, heavy, disconnected. You notice the clutter building around you. Papers pile up, old clothes stay draped over chairs, and boxes sit unopened in the corner. Each item is a reminder of what you haven't done. But it's not just physical clutter. It's emotional, too. Regrets, grief, unspoken fears. You don't share them with anyone because you don't want to burden people. But that silence, that decision to carry everything alone, it takes a toll. You miss doctor appointments, reschedule cleanings, and forget to refill prescriptions. Not because you don't care, but because part of you feels like it doesn't matter anymore. You're not lazy. You're not careless. You're just overwhelmed and exhausted from always holding it together, from pretending you're okay when you're not. And yet, when someone asks how you're doing, you smile and say, "I'm fine." Even when you're not. Especially when you're not. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that admitting your needs was a weakness. That asking for help meant surrendering independence. But that's not true. And deep down, you know it. Still, the hardest part is this. All these consequences, this sadness, this isolation, this quiet unraveling, could have been prevented. Or at least softened. If only you'd reached out. If only someone had seen the signs. But they're hard to see when everything looks okay on the surface. You sit in your chair by the window, watching the world go by. Children laughing on the sidewalk. A couple is walking their dog. A neighbor is waving from their porch. Life moves on. But you feel like you've stepped out of the current. And the tragedy is, you didn't mean for it to be this way. You never wanted to live a life of solitude. You just got used to doing things alone. One compromise at a time. One skipped dinner, one missed call, one unspoken feeling. That's how it happens. But it doesn't have to stay this way. You are not meant to carry the weight of your days in silence. You are not meant to fade into the background. And while the consequences of these quiet mistakes are real, so is the power to change. It begins with one decision. One small step. Maybe it's calling an old friend. Joining a local group. Taking a walk in the fresh air. Or even just saying out loud, "I'm not okay, and that's okay." Because the truth is, aging doesn't have to mean shrinking. It doesn't have to mean loneliness or decline. It can mean rediscovery, reconnection, renewal. But first, we must name the cost of doing nothing, of letting the silence win. Only then can we begin again, with hope, with purpose, and with the belief that even now, especially now, your life still matters deeply. There's something gentle, almost sacred, about the quiet of the early morning when you live alone. The house holds its breath, the clock ticks softly, and the light seeps in slowly through the curtains. But here's the thing. It's not the silence that defines your day, it's what you do with it. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Living alone after 65 isn't a sentence. It's a stage. A new chapter. And while it comes with real challenges, it also offers a rare kind of freedom. The trick is learning how to hold both freedom and loneliness in the same hands. And that begins every day with intention. You don't need a grand plan to start your day right. Even something as simple as opening the blinds, stretching for 5 minutes, or sipping your coffee while watching the birds, if done with presence, can turn emptiness into peace. A small ritual tells your soul, "I'm here. I matter." That first hour of your morning isn't about productivity. It's about anchoring yourself. It's about reclaiming your space and your pace. But while the inner world matters, so does connection. One of the most powerful changes you can make is creating a connection ritual. Maybe it's a daily call to your sister, or your grown son, or a neighbor you check in on. Maybe it's that granddaughter who always texts emojis but lights up when you reply. Don't underestimate what one consistent human moment a day can do. Loneliness isn't always about being alone. It's about not feeling seen. One phone call a day can be a lifeline. Not just for you, but for someone else, too. And if the phone's not enough, remember this. Community isn't just out there waiting. It's often just one brave yes away. Join a group. Any group. Even if it's online. A book club, a knitting circle, a local walking group, or a gardening class. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to show up. Because the truth is, We stop getting invitations when people assume we're not interested. Don't wait to be invited. Invite yourself. Even if your voice shakes. Even if you're not sure what to say. People don't remember perfect words. They remember warmth, presence, and kindness. And let's talk about meals. Not just food, but nourishment. Too often, eating alone becomes mechanical. We eat in front of the TV, or we skip dinner altogether. But meals can be something else entirely. They can be an act of self-respect, of pleasure, of grounding. Use the nice plate. Light a candle. Put on music. Say grace. Not because someone's watching, but because you are. You deserve that dignity. Your body deserves that attention. Eating is not just survival. It's a statement. I'm still living. I'm still here. Now, here's something not everyone will tell you. Solitude can be beautiful. The silence you live with can be full of meaning, not just emptiness. But it becomes something far more powerful when you balance solitude with celebration. Yes, celebration. Celebrate your freedom. The quiet mornings. The books you've finally read. The walks at your own pace. The naps when you need them. The choices that are yours and yours alone. But don't let independence become a wall. Freedom should have open doors, not locked ones. Invite in community. Not just out of need, but out of joy. Host a tea hour, even if only one neighbor comes. Share cookies with the mail carrier. Smile at the same dog walker each morning until it becomes a ritual. Build a web of small connections. You don't have to throw parties or lead events to belong. Sometimes, being part of a community starts with simply being visible. These solutions, waking with intention, connecting with others, sharing meals with grace, joining in, and celebrating what's yours, aren't complicated. But they are profound. They don't require money or travel or transformation. They only ask for consistency and heart. You are not a burden. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are in a chapter that many never reach. And that, in itself, is sacred. Living alone after 65 is not a void to be filled. It is a canvas. And with the right strokes, gentle, daily, loving, you can paint something deeply meaningful. So tomorrow morning, before the coffee's brewed, before the day starts rushing in, pause. Ask yourself not, what do I have to do today? But, how can I care for my soul today? And let that question guide you into something soft, simple, and sacred. Because living alone doesn't mean being alone in spirit. And you, my friend, are never truly alone. And now, as our time together comes to a close, I want to ask you something, heart to heart. Have you ever sat quietly in your favorite chair, perhaps with a cup of tea cooling in your hands, and felt the silence settle around you like a heavy coat? Not the comforting kind of silence, but the sort that whispers, "Is this it?" The truth is, even in the most peaceful moments of solitude, a quiet ache can begin to grow, a longing not for noise, but for connection. But please, if you hear anything from me today, let it be this: you are not truly alone. Yes, you may be living alone. Yes, your days may be quieter now than they once were. But your life still echoes with stories, laughter, wisdom, and the deep power of experience. Those things haven't faded. They've matured like old oak, strong and full of character. And someone out there, perhaps even someone watching this video right now, needs to hear your story. Your loneliness might look like theirs. Your quiet victory over a hard day might become their inspiration. Every small change you make, no matter how insignificant it may seem, carries the potential to ripple into something beautiful. Starting your morning with purpose. Calling an old friend just to say hello. Enjoying your meal like it's a gift instead of a task. These aren't just actions. They are quiet revolutions against isolation. There are daily rebellions against the lie that says, it's too late. There's no age limit on joy. There's no expiration date on human connection. And there is nothing weak about admitting that you'd like to feel more alive, more seen, more loved. So here's what I gently encourage you to do right now. If this message has touched something in your heart, leave a comment. Share your thoughts. Whether it's a memory, a struggle, or a small victory you've had lately, I promise you, it matters. It may be the very thing another soul needs to read today. If this video brought comfort or insight to you, please consider subscribing to the channel. That simple action helps keep these stories flowing, and more importantly, it helps build a space where we remind each other. Life after 65 isn't the end of the book. It's a whole new chapter, and it deserves to be written with courage, color, and companionship. And if someone you love, maybe a friend, a neighbor, or a sibling, could use this message too, don't keep it to yourself. Send it their way. You never know how one small act of sharing can soften someone's lonely evening, or inspire a new beginning. We may be miles apart, separated by walls or cities or even generations, but in this moment, you and I, we're connected. And that connection is real. It's proof that a single voice, even one whispered through a screen, can still reach a heart. So tonight, when the house quiets down and the world grows still, I hope you remember, you are part of something bigger. Your presence matters more than you know. And we'll be right here, waiting to hear from you, to walk beside you, and to remind you every step of the way. You are never truly alone. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want to leave you with a gentle reminder, one that comes from the heart. No matter where you are in life right now, whether you're surrounded by family or sitting quietly in a home that's grown still over the years, you are not alone. Truly, your presence, your story, your life, it still matters deeply. Sometimes, the days can feel long, the nights even longer. But even the smallest shift, a deep breath in the morning light, a walk around the block, a single glass of water with intention, can bring you one step closer to peace, to purpose, to joy. These small steps add up. They whisper to your spirit, you're still here. You're still growing. So I invite you now, not just to listen, but to speak. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Maybe it's a memory, a question, or simply how today felt for you. I promise you, your words might be the light someone else needs. And if this message spoke to you, please subscribe to the channel. Share it with a friend, a neighbor, a loved one. Someone out there may be quietly waiting for this exact reminder, that they are seen, that they matter. Because at any age, connection still heals. And your journey it's far from over.